I didn't smile in photos. If someone said cheese, I closed my lips tight. If a boy told a funny joke, I covered my mouth with my hand before I laughed. My name is Cloe. I was 24 years old, and I hated my teeth. My 2 front teeth had a small gap between them, and one tooth on the side was slightly crooked. To me, it looked like a broken fence. To the bullies in high school, it looked like a target. "Hey, Cloe," they used to say. "Can you whistle through that gap?" I worked as a receptionist at a fancy hotel. It was a job where you had to smile all day. "Welcome to the Grand Hotel," I would say, keeping my lips barely open. I practiced speaking without showing my teeth. I became very quiet. I thought that if I didn't open my mouth, nobody would see my flaw. My dream was simple: veneers. I wanted the Hollywood smile. I wanted straight, white, perfect teeth, like the women in the magazines. Like the other receptionists, Sarah and Jessica, who had smiles that sparkled like diamonds. I saved every penny. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't buy new clothes. I ate instant noodles for dinner. "Why don't you come out with us?" Sarah asked me one Friday night. "I can't," I lied. "I'm busy." I wasn't busy. I was saving money. I had a jar in my kitchen labeled "The New Me." Finally, after 2 years of saving, I had enough: $5,000. I booked a consultation with Dr. Sterling. He was the most famous cosmetic dentist in the city. His billboards were everywhere. They showed a beautiful woman with blindingly white teeth, and the slogan, "Fix your smile, fix your life." I walked into his clinic. It smelled like expensive mint and money. The walls were white. The furniture was white. "Cloe," the nurse called. I walked into the exam room. Dr. Sterling came in. He was a handsome man with a smile that looked like it was made of piano keys. "So," he said, looking into my mouth with a bright light, "you want to fix this." He said "this" with disgust, as if my mouth was a crime scene. "Yes," I whispered. "I want to close the gap. I want them straight. I want to look normal." Dr. Sterling took photos of my face. He put them on a large screen on the wall. He zoomed in on my crooked tooth. He took a red digital pen and drew lines over my teeth. "We will shave these down," he explained, drawing X's on my real teeth. "We will put porcelain covers on top, pure white, symmetrical. You won't recognize yourself." He pressed a button. The screen changed. It showed a digital simulation of new Cloe. The Cloe on the screen had a perfect, straight, white smile. She looked beautiful. She looked like a movie star, but she also looked like a stranger. "It's amazing," I said, trying to feel excited. "It is perfection," Dr. Sterling corrected me. "We can do the surgery on Thursday. Are you ready to say goodbye to the old you?" I looked at the old Cloe on the left side of the screen. I looked at the gap in her teeth. "Yes," I said, "I am ready." But as I walked out of the clinic, I didn't feel happy. I felt a strange heaviness in my chest. It was Wednesday, the day before the surgery. I was sitting at the front desk of the Grand Hotel. My stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. I kept touching my teeth with my tongue. Tomorrow, I thought, tomorrow, these teeth will be gone. At 2:00 p.m., a man walked in. He was carrying a heavy backpack and 3 large cameras around his neck. He looked tired but happy. "Checking in," he said. "Name is Julian. I'm a photographer for National Geographic." I typed his name into the computer. I kept my lips tight, as always. "Welcome, Mr. Julian," I mumbled. He looked at me. He had kind, crinkled eyes. "You have a very quiet voice," he smiled. "Are you a spy?" I blushed. I covered my mouth with my hand. "No, just shy." He laughed. It was a loud, booming laugh. "Well, I am here to photograph the city. I love this place. It has character. It has cracks in the pavement and old buildings. It is real. He lifted one of his cameras. Click. He took a picture of me. I gasped. I ducked behind the computer screen. Please don't, I cried. Delete it. Why? Julian asked, surprised. He looked at the small screen on his camera. The light is perfect. I am ugly, I whispered. I stood up slowly. My teeth. I have a gap. It looks like a broken fence. Julian lowered his camera. He looked at me seriously. A broken fence? He repeated. Or an open gate? I blinked. What? Come here, he said. He turned the camera around so I could see the screen. It was a photo of me. I wasn't posing. I was looking down at the computer, concentrating. My mouth was slightly open. You could see the gap. You could see the crooked tooth. I waited to feel the shame. I waited to feel the hate. But Julian zoomed in. Look at that, he said, pointing to my mouth. It is unique. In my job, I travel the world. I see thousands of people. And do you know what is the most boring thing in the world? I shook my head. Perfection, he said. Perfection is plastic. It has no story. But this? He tapped the screen. This gap? It is charming. It says you are Cloe. Not Sarah, not Jessica. Cloe. He looked me in the eye. I take photos of mountains, he said. Do you think I photoshopped the jagged rocks to make them smooth? No, the jagged parts are what make them beautiful. He picked up his room key. Don't let anyone sand down your mountains, Cloe, he said gently. You might lose the peak. He walked to the elevator. I stood there for a long time. I touched my teeth again. Jagged mountains. My shift ended at 5 p.m. I walked home. Usually, I looked at the ground. But today, I looked at the people passing by. I saw a man with a big nose. He was laughing with his wife. I saw a woman with wild, curly hair. She was singing to herself. I saw an old man with wrinkles like a map on his face. He was smiling at a pigeon. None of them were perfect, but they all looked alive. I got back to my apartment. I walked into the kitchen. On the counter was the jar. The new me. $5,000. Beside it was the appointment card for Dr. Sterling. Thursday, 9 a.m. Veneer prep. I knew what prep meant. It meant they would take a drill and shave my healthy teeth down to little stubs. They would destroy the mountain to build a plastic parking lot. I picked up the jar. It was heavy. I picked up the appointment card. I looked in the mirror. I opened my mouth. I smiled. A real big goofy smile. The gap was there. The crooked tooth was there. Hello, Cloe, I thought. Then my phone rang. It was the clinic. Hi, Cloe, the receptionist said cheerfully. Just calling to confirm your surgery tomorrow. We are so excited to give you your new smile. I looked at the jar. I looked at my reflection. My heart was beating fast. Actually, I said. Actually, I said into the phone, my voice shaking but clear. I am canceling the appointment. The receptionist gasped. Canceling? But Cloe, Dr. Sterling is booked for months. If you cancel now, you lose your deposit. And don't you want to fix your problem? I looked in the mirror. I looked at the gap. I looked at the broken fence. It's not a problem, I said, surprising myself. It's my smile, and I think I'm going to keep it. But I hung up the phone. The silence in my apartment was loud. I looked at the jar of money. $5,000. That was 2 years of instant noodles, 2 years of staying home, 2 years of hiding. I took a deep breath. I didn't feel regret. I felt light. I felt like I had just put down a heavy backpack I had been carrying since high school. The next morning, I went to work at the Grand Hotel. I wore my uniform. I I put on my lipstick. But this time, I made a promise to myself. No hiding. I stood at the front desk. A guest walked up. It was a grumpy businessman in a gray suit. "Check out," he grunted, throwing his key on the desk. Usually I would look down and mumble, but today I looked him in the eye. I opened my mouth. I showed my gap. I showed my crooked tooth. "Certainly, sir," I said with a big, genuine smile. "I hope you had a wonderful stay." The man looked at me. He looked at my mouth. I waited for the insult. I waited for him to look away in disgust. But he didn't. He blinked, surprised by my energy. Then, the corners of his mouth twitched. "It was acceptable," he said, his face softening. "You have a very bright smile, young lady. It wakes a person up." I froze. Bright, not weird, not crooked. "Thank you," I beamed. At 10 a.m., Julian came down to the lobby with his cameras. He looked tired but happy. He saw me. He stopped. He saw that I wasn't covering my mouth with my hand. He walked over to the desk. He didn't say anything. He just gave me a thumbs up. "I canceled it," I whispered to him. "Good," Julian grinned. "The world has enough plastic. We need more character." He checked out of the hotel. "I'm off to Peru tomorrow," he said, "to photograph the Andes Mountains. Real mountains. Jagged ones." He waved goodbye and walked out the revolving doors. I watched him go. I looked at the reflection of the hotel lobby in the glass doors. I saw myself. I saw a girl who had wasted 2 years saving money to fix something that wasn't broken. I thought about the money in the jar. I picked up the phone. I called the travel agent down the street. "Hello?" I said. "My name is Cloe. I have $5,000 and I have never been anywhere. I want to go to Peru." The travel agent laughed. "Peru? That is a big trip for a first-timer." "I know," I said, tracing the gap in my teeth with my tongue. "But I think I am ready for some mountains." I booked the ticket. I quit my job at the hotel 2 weeks later. Sarah and Jessica were shocked. "You're leaving?" Jessica asked, looking at my teeth. "But what about your plan?" "I changed the plan," I said, smiling so wide my gums showed. "I'm going to see the world, and I'm going to smile at it." I packed my bag. I took my camera. I took my gap. And I went to the airport. Peru was not white and sterile like Dr. Sterling's clinic. It was a riot of color. I hiked the Inca Trail. My legs burned. My lungs gasped for the thin air. But my spirit soared. For the first few days, I still caught myself covering my mouth. Habit is a hard thing to break. But then I met our guide, Marco. Marco was 60 years old. He had deep wrinkles and a missing front tooth. But when he laughed, which was often, his face lit up like the sun. He didn't hide his missing tooth. He threw his head back and let the world see his joy. Why hide? Marco asked me one night around the campfire when he saw me put my hand over my mouth. If you hide your mouth, you hide your laugh. And a laugh is a gift to the gods. I looked at the stars above the Andes. I took my hand away from my face. I laughed. 2 weeks later, I was in a bustling market in Cusco. I was buying a colorful scarf. I was haggling with the vendor in my broken Spanish, grinning wide, my gap visible to everyone. "Cloe!" a voice called out. I turned around. Standing near a stall selling flutes was Julian, the photographer from the hotel. He looked dusty and tired, but his eyes were bright. "You made it," he shouted, pushing through the crowd. "You actually came." "I did," I beamed. "I traded the porcelain for the peaks." Julian laughed. He lifted his camera. "Don't move." Click. He took the photo. I didn't hide. I didn't pose. I just let my smile be exactly what it was. Wide, imperfect, and real. That Julian said, looking at the screen, is a masterpiece. I returned home a month later. I didn't have $5,000 anymore. I had $12 and a backpack full of dirty laundry. But I walked differently. I talked differently. I didn't go back to the hotel. I applied for a job at a travel agency. You have a very distinct look, the manager said during the interview. Very memorable. Thank you, I said, flashing my gap-toothed smile. It's my signature. I got the job. 6 months later, a package arrived in the mail. It was a large, heavy envelope from National Geographic. Inside was a magazine. There was a sticky note on the cover. Page 42. Julian. I opened it to page 42. There was a full-page photo of a girl standing in a Peruvian market. Her hair was messy. Her skin was sun-kissed. And she was laughing. Her 2 front teeth had a gap between them. 1 tooth was crooked. It was the most beautiful picture I had ever seen. Underneath the photo, the caption read, "The most honest smile in the Andes." I touched the glossy paper. I remembered the girl who used to eat instant noodles in the dark, saving money to erase herself. I felt sorry for her. But I was so proud of the woman she had become. My name is Cloe. I still have a gap in my teeth. Sometimes food gets stuck in it. Sometimes people stare. But I don't care, because my smile is not a fence to keep people out. It is an open gate. And through that gate, I let the whole world in. If this story about self-acceptance, breaking beauty standards, and finding confidence inspired you, please give this video a like. Is there something about yourself you used to dislike but learned to love? Share your journey in the comments below. For more emotional English stories about self-love and adventure, please be sure to follow our channel.